Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 14th scheduled meeting of the Zoning Commission. Before we begin our first order of business, I'd like the commissioners and staff to introduce themselves, starting at my extreme right, please.
Robert Flanagan, City Planner. Forgot about my promotion.
Cindy Lamar.
Michael Massarelli.
William Cunningham.
Brian Skinner.
Louise Provenzano.
Monica Holloway, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
And as always, I would like to acknowledge and thank Nancy King, our secretary, who does a terrific job with the minutes for the commission. So thank you, everyone. If you're in attendance, I'd like to remind you that there is a 10 o'clock curfew that is in effect for this commission. Our first order of business is the acceptance of minutes submitted in this packet. And for that, Nancy, it will be Commissioner Cunningham, Commissioner Mazzarelli, and myself voting on it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our regular meeting of November 19th, 2016, please.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Roll call vote, please. Commissioner Mazzarelli?
Accept.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Okay. Next order of business will be Zoning Enforcement Officer's report. Monica?
Good evening. You do have your report from myself in front of you. I do have to note that there is an error. I have the months as September and October 2016, and it should be October, November, and the two columns. Instead it says September, October. And for the month of November, the residential permits have gone down, as you can see. The business and the commercial permits have gone up just slightly, and our complaints have gone up tremendously from last month. And if you have any questions?
I do. That glaring fabric garage, 44, what happened? Did we have someone that...
Yes, that's
we have a
exactly.
complaint that's mushroomed.
We had one complaint regarding a fabric garage or temporary garage, and they were so upset they drove around town and gave me addresses of other properties that have fabric tents. So that's where the 44 came from.
Okay.
Was that part of, didn't we have something with an accessory building that once a year they could give us a list of, maybe Mr. Flanagan, you could, isn't there something once a year we get a report, I think from Monica, of a listing of, is it?
It's accessory apartments.
Okay, accessory
Dwelling units.
Okay, so it's not fabric garage.
It's not fabric garage.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Because when I first looked at that, I thought I knew that they were not allowed. And then I look up there at the top and it says permit issued. And I went like, wait a minute. So that's when I figured, I looked at it and I went like, that's got to be that someone got a hair and they went out and looked for everyone in the vicinity. Okay. Any questions for Monica at this point? Okay. Next order of business will be receipt of new applications.
Yes, we'll just get there.
There are none, Mr. Chairman.
New business.
The next order of business will be our public hearings.
There are none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so the protocol we can eliminate for that. So we are going to go to old business.
There is no old business, sir.
Okay. New business, Mr. Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, again, Robert Flanagan, City Planner for the record. The first item on new business is number 3 this evening. It's a request for an extension of site plan approval for 365 Allentown Road. This is the development, if you're familiar with Allentown Road, if you go up Allentown, it's on the left as you're heading out of town. The condos are on the right. I want to draw your attention to the packet on page 12 of the packet. We have a letter from Mr. LePage, LePage Homes, who is now the owner of the property at map 9, lot 13, 365 Allentown Road. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I'll just read the letter into the record, please. Dear Chairman Skinner, my name is William LePage and I represent LePage Homes LLC. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-3M, LePage Homes is requesting a 5-year extension of permit 1995 to November 14th, 2021, making the total duration of the permit 14 years. No other extensions are permitted under current state law. Just to give some background, on November 12, 2015, this body approved application 2210, which was a site plan revision heard by this body. You should know also that the Bristol Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission has already approved a 5-year extension of its permit for the project. The expiration date of the wetlands permit, 1567, is now May 16th, 2021. LePage Homes is requesting to be placed on the agenda of the December 14th, 2016 meeting so the Zoning Commission can review this request. I also put in the packet on page 13 the original permit from 2007, application in 1995, and it was owned by another entity at the time. Then we go forward to page 14, and this was the revision to the plan that you saw last year. Just to give a quick, brief background, when the original permit was granted in 2007, as many of you know, as everyone knows, the real estate market took a turn, a downward turn, and this property had sat undeveloped for all those years. It wasn't until 2015 that Mr. LePage came along and purchased the property and all the development rights, and now he is currently building homes on the site. I spoke with Mr. LePage about 2 weeks ago, and he is having great success, and he's looking forward to a very good spring. He had a good half a year this year, and he's got the project broken up into phases, and we're bonding each phase as they go along. He finishes a phase, then we bond for the next phase, and he seems to be building a very good quality product also, if I might add. And then as we flash forward into the packet, on page 16 is the location map, and on page 17 is the inland wetlands permit. And then just for background, excuse me, on page 18 I just gave a copy of the minutes from the 2015 meeting. And then it's probably a little big for you to see on your screen if you just take your magnification down. This is the revision to the plan, these 3 sheets that Mr. LePage submitted with his application back in 2015. And essentially what Mr. LePage did is he took the development rights, all the approvals, and he just tweaked some of the elevations. And that was brought forward to you last year. That's it for that part of the agenda. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And a motion would be in order whenever you're...
Looks like we're good to go because there's never been a problem up there, and everything he does looks very well done.
And he's been very communicative also. He's in the office, a month before he wants to do something, and is communicating with us. So
yeah. So it's just an extension of the site plan.
Yeah, this is, excuse me, this is one of those deals that we've had in the past where the state changed the law where you could amend it for an extra 5 years, giving you the total of 14, where
yes.
Mr. Weiner used to go through that long, lengthy explanation.
I could do it, but
yeah, no,
nothing we don't know.
He's made such an impact that I can remember that that's what this was about, so I just wanted to be clear that that's what it was.
And so just as for clarification, Commissioner Cunningham, he fell within a window. There's a certain window of time that you have to fall within to be able to take advantage of that. And the original application and the original developer fell within that window.
All right, if no one has anything that we need to complain about, we don't need to. I'll just entertain a motion for the extension. Nancy, all 5 commissioners will be voting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. We're doing a motion to approve.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for the extension of the site plan approval at 365 Allentown Road, Assessors Map 9, Lot 13, R25 Residential, OSD Open Space Development Overlay Zone, from LePage Homes, LLC, applications 1995 and 2210 be approved for a period of 5 years to November 14th, 2021.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Roll call vote, please. Commissioner Mazzarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Provenzano?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemire?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Okay, next order, the next part of new business is the application for the staff on a release bond. Bob, you want to?
Sure.
You.
Mr. Chairman, in front of you this evening and in your electronic packet on page 22 is an estimate that we had prepared that was submitted to the office by D'Amato Realty for their redevelopment of the former Jennings School at 291 Burlington Avenue. As most of you know, when a project isn't complete and a temporary CO is issued, we have to bond for whatever improvements have not been completed. So this estimate came into the office on August 29th, and it was for the amount of $90,887.50. And basically the request in front of you this evening is to release the bond. We've conducted our site inspections, and the site is complete. It's fully built out, and Mr. D'Amato and his group did an excellent job on the project. If we move forward in the packet, there is a copy of the original application permit that goes down to page 26, and then I have a location map on page 27. And staff recommends that you release the bond.
Questions or comments, anyone? Looks like we're good to go, another no-brainer. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that staff be directed to release the site improvement surety bond in the amount of $90,887.50 associated with site plan application number 2209, Child Daycare Center and Housing for the Elderly at 291 Burlington Avenue, Assessors Map 20, Lot 92, R15 Single Family Residential Zone, D'Amato Realty, LLC.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Roll call vote, please. Commissioner Mazzarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Provenzano?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemaire?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. This is going too easy. Okay, third part of new business, I guess. Mr. Flanagan, do you want to start it, or do you want me to get the ball rolling? I don't.
If you'd like to start, that's fine, and I was going to read the letter into the record when you're ready.
Why don't we do that?
Sure. So this next request is for a request for the January 2017 meeting to be placed on the agenda from Attorney Tim Fury, who's with us here this evening. Attorney Fury writes a letter to Chairman Skinner dated December 7th, 2016. Request for discussion of zone change IP zone Route 229 Technology Park. Dear Chairman Skinner, please be advised that my client, D'Amato Companies, is considering purchasing a property in the 229 Technology Park into which it would move all of its operations for its various companies, including its realty division, property management division, and construction division. If purchased, the property would be owned by one of its affiliates. We have been in discussions with Justin Malley from the BDA and Robert Flanagan, your city planner, regarding the modifications that may be required from the BDA, the property owners in the park, and the zoning commission. As part of the development of any proposal, we want to be sensitive to the coordination of all applications before the various boards and other potential considerations as to the design of any proposal. Therefore, pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 7-159B and to the Bristol Zoning Regulations Section 11(3)B, my client is requesting a pre-application discussion with the Zoning Commission. My client understands that any plan or ideas presented or the comments made by any commission member or staff are non-binding in the event of an application is made later. My client also understands that the pre-application discussion shall be considered only informational and advisory in nature, and no development rights shall attach to the review or consideration of any proposed project. The advantage of a pre-application discussion is not a formal development application and does not initiate the processing timeframes of the Connecticut General Statutes. Consequently, we are requesting that the Zoning Commission consider placing us as a discussion item at the end of your January agenda so that we can have an informal discussion about the process we would hope to follow and receive input from the Commission regarding any concerns that you may have before we file formal applications. Either I or a representative of the company will be at your disposal should Mr. Flanagan inform us. Very truly yours, Timothy W. Fury.
Okay. So what's before us is the fact that we have to decide whether we want a pre-application discussion. I'll tell you right now, I have to be honest with you, I'm not in favor of it. I mean, I think the Commission has enough to do I think that what we should be doing is, if somebody wants to come in, file the application, that's fine. We have our public hearing, that's fine. I think we're opening ourselves up to a can of worms by allowing, if we allow one, I know, you know what's going to happen. Somewhere down the line, someone's going to say, well, you did it for him, you got to do it for me. There's a couple things about this, though, that I just want to mention personally, because I went out and I looked at the site today. When I first saw it, I said, oh boy, somebody wants to put in a construction yard in a industrial park, I guess we call it. And all I could see was that poor company Pods over there, and I went like, oh my God, somebody next to it, what a mess it's going to be. It isn't there. If you go down where it's the old yard building, I went there yesterday. Actually, I walked the site twice. If you're talking about a developer housing equipment, he's backed up against Covanta. There's nothing dirtier than the Covanta site. I mean, that's an energy-burning site. So I looked at the building and I went like, you know, if the D'Amatos store their equipment in the back, it's a huge site in the back, no one's going to see it to begin with. So I felt better about it as soon as I looked at it. I didn't think it was something that we're going to drive down Middle Street and see a bunch of equipment. So my feeling is right now on this, I think that, and that's my feeling, but I want to get everybody's feeling on it, I kind of think we need to go through the regular process. File the application, come in, we have the public hearing, and see what happens. I do have to say, though, after looking at the site, I kind of don't have any problem with this. So, now that I kind of just talked off the cuff, anyone want to?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I remember a similar request coming to us recently, and I was open to allowing them to come and speak to us in an informal manner, and actually it was the other commissioners unanimously who convinced me out of it, that said, let's follow the formal process. If we have the questions, we can do it at that time, you know, at the hearing. And so I have to say I'm leaning that way. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns the parties have that we can't address following the normal process. And really my fellow commissioners are the ones that convinced me of that. Of course, if this is something, if somebody has something else to, you know, sway me another way, to say, yeah, let's do it. I mean, I was there before with previous applications, but I am also weary of opening up a can of worms and doing this all the time when the normal process does work for us, in most cases.
And the other thing that, Mr. Flanagan, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be on a special permit basis, so it's not a permitted use. So even if we agree, you know, if Mr. D'Amato comes in and they present it and we approve it, it doesn't mean that from then on it's a permitted use. It's still, each application has to come in and be a special permit, correct?
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, the request in front of you this evening is just to come and speak. We don't really have, we haven't seen any development plans.
Right.
You know, I just mentioned that the property they may be looking at. You know, we certainly don't want to get ahead of ourselves and discuss some of those issues. The issue in front of you this evening is whether you want them to come in or not and present their plans to you.
Yeah. What do you think, Bill?
I guess when I first read the letter in our packet, I actually kind of thought a pre-proposal discussion I thought was a pretty neat concept. I have to kind of remember the application you were talking about, which one it was. I don't remember that because at that time I might have thought differently, but I actually kind of like that concept because it seems sometimes we get applications in that are either have questions from the public or questions from us that we have to go another round, and then if we have to still go another round, we have to ask for an extension from the applicant, and it just seems like it prevents forward progress. And I don't know, Mr. Flanagan, if this is something, because obviously we don't have a lot to do tonight, and it's certainly not we can discuss tonight, but maybe this is another one of those things that as a commission we can explore whether the statutes give us the chance to.
They do. They do allow you to do it, and the regulations do allow it also. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to chime in, and I'm sorry to short
No,
circuit.
go ahead, please.
The application I think you were talking about, or the request that came in, if I remember it correctly, it was from a member of the community who wanted you folks to take up a potential zone change application. They didn't want to do it. They wanted you to do it. I think that was the request that came before the board. Maybe it wasn't, but I thought that was the one that came before most recently. They were asking you to do something rather than someone who was actually going to propose something.
Got it. But again, and I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that if we open up this can of worms, it could be a problem, and maybe that's one of the things we would need to discuss is like, okay, somebody could come in and give us a pre-application discussion, maybe limited to 1 hour or something, write a statute or something that it doesn't drag on into a whole meeting, because I agree, we do have plenty of other things to do. However, if an applicant can come before this commission and maybe address some of the points in their proposed application that they might feel would give us some heartburn, and then go back and readdress it, and then make the submittal, it might make the application process smoother. You know what I mean? So with all that said, and especially because our January schedule, I don't know how busy it is, it doesn't appear to be that crowded. In this one particular instance, I feel as though we might be able to entertain their request, and then should we get future requests in the future, I don't care if anybody says that we did it for them, we do it for them. If we want to tell somebody no, we're going to tell them no. We're the commission, we decide. We're not going to be told by anybody that because we did it for one, we're doing it for another. I won't accept it. But in this case, and given our light schedule, I would feel as though maybe we should at least hear what they have to say.
Commissioner Mazzarelli, you want to take a shot at it?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at this one. I think communication is important in anything that you're doing. So these folks are coming to us in a proactive attempt to communicate with us, give us their ideas and share ideas to see if we have any troubles. And I agree with your idea that if we put some controls around it with a time limit, because we are here till 10 o'clock at night often, that'll set the precedence moving forward to say, sure, we allowed these people, whether it's an hour, a half hour, 15 minutes, whatever we decide is appropriate, to present their ideas, and we provided them with some feedback to make it easier down the road. But I think the proactive communication is a positive step from them.
Yeah, can we mandate because I do like this, again, I'm pretty sure it wasn't that one, I know what you're talking about, but there was something that I did want to hear from them. I thought it could streamline the process, and I remember you saying the same thing as well as a few other commissioners. Is there a way for us, though, if this even becomes common practice, to say these types of informational meetings will be a half hour?
You can draw any parameter that you want to draw on it. Absolutely, okay. It's totally at your discretion.
Okay, because even a half hour is a lot if we have a full docket, and we'd have to push these types of things out for applications or public hearings that have actually been filed, and that's my only concern.
Maybe we put them to the bottom of the agenda.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that type of thing.
With controls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our request did say the end of the agenda.
Commissioner O'Meara, would you like to anything?
No, I agree. Put it to the bottom of the agenda,
Okay.
and communication is good.
Okay, so the flavor I'm getting is that this commission would like to have pre-application discussion. Okay. So what do we do?
Again, with the caveat, and excuse me.
But we have nothing for parameters or rules right now on this. This could go forever.
I don't think the potential applicant would want to wear out their welcome.
Right.
But you can set those up at the meeting before you start. If you all want to think about it over the holidays and maybe just jot something down about what the parameters can be. If you wanted to have a motion and do it, or you could just do it by acclamation if you feel a head count is warranted. You can do it any way you want, but I think a motion just to add them to the agenda to authorize staff to do that.
Might as well do that because I look like I'm in the minority, so we can just, do you want to make a motion?
Sure. Do we want to,
Then make a motion and vote on it.
do we want to put a time limit?
It wouldn't be such a bad thing to at least do for this one, because what I'm concerned about is we may not have a concern, say, for this, informal, discussion, but if usually they're complex. I mean, if somebody wants to have something that can't follow the normal process, it can be complex, and that informal discussion can go on and on and on, and we just don't have time for that. That's not what we do. That's not what we're charged with. So I think that it would be good to, and it's hard to put a time frame on it without not knowing what they're saying, but maybe we say something, about fitting it into the current agenda or something like that.
Right, maybe it's something that we would do under, I don't know, correspondence at the end of the meeting, subject to...
Time.
Subject to prior...
Or curfew.
Curfew, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want it to, I hate to say 15 minutes or 20 minutes, a half hour, I don't think that's it, but I just think that we leave ourselves open so that, another complex one, we fit it in somewhere. Can we do that under correspondence or, or new business?
It's appropriate wherever you'd want to put it. It might be most appropriate under new business.
New business, I think so too.
I had a thought, it just escaped me. It'll come back to me.
Okay. Did it have to do with the motion, though?
Oh, yes, okay, so it just came back to me. Senior moment. There are no new applications that have been accepted for next month, so there's no public hearings next month. It's a particularly light agenda. So I think setting a parameter of however you want to do it, a half hour or an hour, is entirely up to you.
I like it under new business, not to interrupt, but
Sure.
that's just next month. I think if we could new business is always at the end of the agenda, and why not just do it then? It's a conversation. I really like that.
Okay?
How do you feel, Bill and others, about that? Okay.
You guys okay with that? So we're not going to give a time limit, we're just going to say add it to the new business subject to the 10 o'clock curfew. So that if other business takes us to curfew, we don't talk about it.
Just push to the next month or something. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to add a pre-application discussion for a potential zone change to the IP zone Route 229 Technology Park to our January
11th meeting.
11th, 2017 meetings to be put under new business and subject to our 10 o'clock p.m. curfew.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Roll call vote, please. Commissioner Mazzarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Provenzano?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemare?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Yes.
And chair votes no. Okay, so it's on the January 11th meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, city planners report.
There is activity in the office. There's some new applications that will be coming through in the new year. I'm expecting a robust 2017. Things are looking well. We've had some inquiries in the office. Housing seems to be starting to pop. The Allentown Road project is moving along. So just kind of a global sense, I have a good feeling about 17, and I think it's going to be a good year. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And same to you. There's no other business, so we're going to, at this point, we will adjourn, and then we will reconnect with aquifer protection. All right, at this point, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Do I have a second?
I thought you were going to do it. Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Roll call vote. Commissioner Mazzarelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Provenzano?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemare?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
And then chair votes yes. And then what we're going to do is reinstall the commission to the Aquifer Protection Agency. It'll be the same 5 people. Nancy?
Call that meeting to order.
Yep, the meeting is called to order, yes.